A huge problem that I see is that most people confuse corporate business with entrepreneurial type business. Driven Mofos, welcome back to another episode of The Underestimated Entrepreneur. Today, I want to talk about a huge gripe that I have, and this is where a lot of people confuse business with corporate business or entrepreneurial type business with corporate business, and they're completely different, and the people who operate in them are normally completely different also, and normally business owners get tagged in this idea of corporate business, but corporate business is a completely different game, and in fact, it's a game that I normally try to avoid for multiple reasons, so let's talk about it. Anyway, if you don't know who I am, I'm Michael Mojo. I'm the owner of Mojo Human Performance Institute. We focus on business, mindset, and lifestyle hacking for driven mofos. And the reason why I do these episodes is because most people waste their life, and I just don't want you to be one of them. So what I noticed over the years is that so many people are afraid to work with businesses because of the idea of what happens in corporate business. Now, I never really realized this for a long time, but I also knew that I had a massive gripe with corporate business because corporate business in most cases cannot be the most decent place, I guess you could say. There's a lot of bullshit, there's a lot of politics, there's a lot of walking on eggshells, there's a lot of underhanded shit that goes on, there's a lot of government stuff that happens with corporate business and governments that you could never get away with if you're a private citizen or a normal citizen. But there's all this stuff happens, and we got to see this really firsthand. During GFC, that was the first time I really went, wow, this is fucked. And if you haven't watched some of the videos like The Wolf of Wall Street, there's some great documentary. Michael Moore did a documentary called Capitalism. It's on Netflix, I believe. If you go and watch it, it's a real eye-opener as to how corporate business works in the banking sector. There's a lot of documentaries out there you can just go and watch on the finance industry. I've got heaps of them. If you want me to send you any docos, just shoot me a message on any of my social media platforms and say, Mojo, what are your good financial docos? I've got a big list of them and I'll just grab some and send them to you. But look, during GFC, we really got to identify why corporate business is just so different than normal business. And it's just a different ballgame. And a lot of corporate business is smoke and mirrors and using other people's money to just do shit that makes no sense. And people can get away with it because corporate business essentially drives and pays for government. Government also gets a lot of votes and stuff by the money that they pay in their campaigns, which is normally donated. There's a lot of underhanded shit that goes on, which I don't like personally. I won't say I'm capitalistic. I'm definitely not a socialist where I believe that everyone should get along and everyone should be equal and that everyone should get participation awards in life. I don't agree with that, especially someone like myself that works 80 to 100 hours a week. If I lived in a communist country, I would fucking go insane. I wouldn't work. And I don't think that that's a good system, nor do I think that socialism is a good system as well, where a lot of people are rewarded as all being the same. I don't think that that's a good way of doing things. I think that there is a benefit to being capitalistic and democratic as well, but I also think that people should be rewarded for the value that they create and so on. Anyway, I don't want to go too heavily into my views on this sort of stuff, but I also don't think that having a market that gets called capitalistic, which is set up for a very small group of individuals to win at the expense of everybody else, is beneficial also, especially when the rules of the game are rigged in their favor. And so I guess a lot of people in our society are really pissed off with the way that corporate businesses work. I ask this in events, when you think about a bank, make the sound that you make when you have to go to a bank. And everyone's like, oh, why? Because banks are boring, they're dull, they're big and heavy. You know that you're normally probably not going to get the service that you want. And there are some people who are probably listening to this who work in banks. Not everyone who works in a bank it's a problem with. It's a whole corporate business setup. And I've worked in corporate businesses where I've gone in there to do talks with people. And I know that there's a lot of internal politics that goes on and a lot of underhanded shit that goes on and a lot of manipulation that goes on and a lot of, hey, I'll smile and say all the right things, but behind the scenes I do completely the opposite. It's a completely different field. And what I find is that the majority of society then grab the idea of corporate business that does shit that they don't like and then mashes that into entrepreneurial type business where you've got someone who's starting a business from scratch, from the ground up, and they are just trying to make it. And they're working long hours. They have to deal with a lot of people. And so what I've found is that even the personalities of a business owner is different than corporate businesses. And this is just my opinion and my experience. And, please send me a message and let me know if you've ever experienced this as well. But as having worked with a lot of small business owners and a lot of business owners that have grown quite substantial businesses as well, I always find that they're really down to earth. I find it funny because when I bought, my McLaren, actually when I first bought my first supercar, which was an Audi R8, I got invited to a drive day and they were all supercars and I thought, there's going to be a whole bunch of wankers there and they're all going to be all fucking toffee nose and dickheads and, everyone's going to be showing off. And when I got there, they were all the nicest people. They were like your best mates in no time. Like they'd buy you a coffee. And even now I go there and there's people in there, who have built $100, $200 million businesses, and they are like the nicest, sweetest people. Very rarely do I have to deal with a dickhead on any supercar days. Every now and again there is a dickhead, and the majority of them are just overcompensating. But the ones that I've noticed are the biggest dickheads are normally corporates who have made a lot of money in corporate business, and they've never really had to build a business. They worked their way up in the business in a managerial position and then ended up as CEO or a high-level director or something like that. And I just find that the way that they operate is completely different. There's like everyone else is peasants and I'm better than them. And that comes across very heavily a lot in corporate business. I just see it so much. And then what I find is that when I've met a lot of business owners, they are really just down to earth. I'm sure a lot of you are listening here. I'm not sure whether you like my swearing or don't like my swearing, but you just accept it. And a lot of you I could probably go out to lunch with and have lunch and have a steak or have a glass of wine if I chose to or whatever, and we'd just get along. I find that most business owners are very much like that. Whereas when I've gone to corporate business, it's almost like there's this dick swinging, or like I'm better than everybody and I've got to be better than you. And there's always this like one-upmanship, and it's not like how can we work together and how can we help? It's like I have to be better than you, and then you have to try and be better than me, and I have to be better. And I paid 10 grand for a suit. Oh, well, that's nothing. I paid 15 grand for it. And I've got this type of car. And what high school did you go to? It's just this very superficial place, which I don't know why or where it comes from. But I guess I wanted to talk about this because if you're someone who's listening in here and you've got these same beliefs that I had as well about, business owners who do really, really well, being different, they're not. They're the same people. And even sometimes I'll go out to supercar drive days and coffee and cars or whatever, and I rock up there and I open the doors up, and if there's ever little kids standing around my car and they're taking photos, I'll go up. I will stop a conversation that I'm having with someone and walk over, because it's more important for me to inspire that child and also, hopefully the parents as well, than it is for me to continue a conversation with someone that I can go back to in 2 minutes. So I will literally stop a conversation, walk over, open the car up or open the door and say, hey, do you want to go and sit in and get a photo? And you watch the kid's face light up. Their parents are like, wow, what the fuck? Like, this is amazing. And then they normally say to the kid, don't touch anything, don't scratch anything. But at the same time, like, it's there to be enjoyed. And I find that this is such a common thing that I find with business owners and entrepreneurial type people that have built a business from the ground up. They appreciate the hard work. They understand the stress that is created from having a business. They are also normally very humble because they know that they've had their ass kicked so many times in business that it can be so unpredictable. And so they just tend to be, I find, a lot nicer. I'm not saying that corporates aren't nice. There are some, I've met some great corporates as well that are still very close friends of mine, and they're really amazing people. And they have that same philosophy. Some of them have had their own businesses, but some of them have also had their ass kicked in life so much that they are very humbled by that. But I guess, I wanted to have this conversation because if you are that person who was like me, that was thinking that corporate and business are the same thing, and you're making judgments and assessments about people because they've got successful businesses as being very snotty-nosed and being above other people and thinking that they're better than everybody else, I've very rarely found that in someone who's built their own business, no matter how successful it is. And I would also find that they are some of the nicest, most humble people. Actually, I shouldn't use the word humble because that means to subordinate or to, to be average. But they just seem to want to help. And I meet a lot of them and they are always there. If I need them, I can just message them and they will come and help, or how can I help, or I can talk to them. They're those types of people. Whereas I have gone into so many corporate businesses where it's just this dick slinging match where someone's trying to get something from someone else and someone's being manipulated and they're manipulating conversations to get something. They're putting someone down in order to move up. And it's just this stupid game that gets played. And I don't think that it's good for their mental health. I've seen a lot higher drug use and a lot higher, as in, when I say drug use, I mean functional drug use, as like a lot of cocaine use just to function throughout the day. And I've also seen a lot of medical drug use of using painkillers and shit like that just to make it through the day. And I also see a massive higher consumption of alcohol just in general from corporate businesses. Whereas I find entrepreneurial type people, they will drink and they might have some drugs or whatever, but they normally do it on occasions. But most of the time they're trying to figure out how they can work more effectively, not how they can escape life. So I just wanted to sort of share this as well because I have seen it and I hope that it helps to break a bit of a pattern and a myth in our society as well. I just wanted to share. So anyway, I hope this helps. Driven Mofos. If you haven't jumped across to our Facebook group yet, the No Bullshit Business Hacks for Driven Mofos, you'll see it pop up on Facebook. If you just go in there and type in the search bar, No BF Business Hacks, it'll come up, and just jump in there. You can join, it's free. I've been putting in there heaps of bonus content. I've been adding templates and tools and a whole bunch of other stuff that you can use to grow your business or to learn. So please jump across in there. I'm doing this, it's all for free. I really do appreciate each and every one of you. And remember to keep sharing with your friends and family, and let's get this stuff out to more people. I really, really do stay inspired by seeing those numbers go up. So the more people we can get listening to this, the more inspired I am and the more I want to share good information. So anyway, stay driven mofos, and never underestimate the dream.